theoretically. Come on. Facebook always takes a little while to just connect up. There we go. We're now live on Facebook
Hey!
as well. Hello.
Wow.
Someone's just put a comment somewhere in Facebook saying, "Is it on now?" I might just
Yes, here we are. Hello, can you see us?
see us.
Give us some thumbs up or put in the chat where you're joining from so we know that you're here and we're not talking into the ether or to each
Yes,
other.
that would be, well, we
So,
do talk to each other a lot, don't we?
yeah, thank goodness there's two of us. Otherwise, this would be heaps more scary. You know, there's lives really all by yourself. Hi, anybody there?
I'm just putting a
So,
little bit of a little thing in there. Ah, we've got LJ, we've got Berit. It was
LJ.
you that said, of course it
Hi,
was.
Berit.
Lovely to see you people. Yeah, we got a few people on. Yip, 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 yip.
Hello, Kerry. Where you guys? Oh, Barrett was the one that made the comment. But where you joining from? Let us know.
It's
I'm
always
curious.
nice to know how far across the world we're chatting.
I'm doing funny things here because I have I've got
You've got a bad
heat.
shoulder, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a heat pad at the back here.
Poor Barbara. Oh, Berit's in Norway. Yay.
Nice.
Massachusetts.
Yay, welcome, Kerry.
Fabulous. Are you sort of the northy bit of Norway with Monica, or are you in the more southy bits? And Helen's in Wigan, just up the road from me, just up the M6. I know where we are now.
Okay. I'm going to try and do some magic here.
Hey, it was a good day for Wigan in the Olympics yesterday, wasn't it, Helen? Well, Lee, really, but yeah, they had a gold medal in the athletics. So Keely Hodgkinson, she's a girl from Lee, which is sort of, it's kind of, is it Wigan or is it more Warrington? Anyway, it's that area. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're wittering. We're wittering as normal.
Okay. Great.
Should we get started on because it's a really good one today, isn't it?
Well, it's an interesting topic. I mean, we had lots of comments on the announcement. Quite a few people responded. We kind of flippantly put out there, well, flippant, it wasn't flippant, but you know, is it my fault? Was it your fault that your dog's reactive? And I thought so then last night, was it last night you texted me, Julia, saying, did you see all the comments? So
I know we touched something with people, and I think it is that we blame ourselves, don't we? You know, if you've got a reactive dog and you see all these other people with their seemingly perfect dogs, and you think, well, it's got to be me. And you hear that thing, don't you? That, you know, when you hear about, you know, dogs, for example, I don't know about where everyone else is, but in the UK, we've had another dog added to the banned breeds list, so the XL Bully. And people will say, well, actually, it's all about the owners. It's not about the dogs. And I sort of think, well, actually, you know, sometimes there's truth to that, but it makes the good guys feel really guilty because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is, you know, there are things with the dog that can make, you know, them behave in a particular way. So I do think we have to be a bit careful sometimes with how we say these sorts of things. So anyway,
yeah,
because we end up just feeling horrible and guilty, don't we?
yeah, and I mean, we've all been there, right? I mean, when now I got attacked, I mean, okay, I was on the other side. That wasn't my dog. That was, you know, overreacting in that moment. But you still feel, and it was an accident and everything, but you still kind of go like, well, if only I had, you know, left 5 minutes earlier. If only I had put him in the crate. If only, you know, if that is, yeah, that doesn't, but it makes you feel really bad. does feel. Or when Falky and our couple of, it was early in the year when they had a bit of a fight. It wasn't really serious, it wasn't bad, nothing, but because of the whole recovery journey that now I was on, it kind of set us back a bit. And then I was definitely on a total guilt trip because I felt I'd neglected, I was so happy my visitors were there, my sister was there, I don't ever see her, and all of that. And I was really tired and I had just been slow, in the uptake and not really watching the dogs close enough. Could have totally been,
And that
preventable.
happens
So you go, you
to
do that.
all
We
of
do
us,
that.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a
Anyway.
horrific experience long time ago with Hats, who does have a traumatic past, and there's a little bit of a live wire. Well, she was certainly a little bit of a live wire. And we went to somebody's house, and again, same sort of thing. Too busy having a lovely time. I'd kept her on a lead because I knew what she was like, but then I let go of it. Why did I do that? And of course, she then went to go and try and bite somebody, and you feel horrible. And that's why the sort of the thought for the week that we've had, which was that lovely quote from Andrew Hale, guilt is often a silent, deep, visible learning. You've learned something very deeply, so deeply it kind of hurts. And that's so pertinent for those experiences that we've had, because we both know actually there are things I could have done differently. Um, and that's not gonna, and I am going to do it differently next time. And I think when you have, a reactive dog, quite often you'll think, actually, I could have handled that a little bit differently. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all your fault. Just because, yes, you could have done something differently, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily all your fault. There are
Well,
lots of reasons.
I mean, sometimes it is, right?
Mm.
I
Oh,
still think that
absolutely. Yeah.
in that situation, if I had, I even ignored when John said, "Shall we?" I think they're tired. Why don't we put Falk in the crate, whatever? And stupidly, didn't act on that. So, but the point is, there is no value in going around finding fault.
No.
We don't. That doesn't give us anything. And then the feeling when we feel guilty, it's not pleasant. Nobody wants to feel guilty.
Horrible.
And that's why I found that quote from Andrew so fascinating, because I feel guilty a lot. Don't get me wrong, right? When I say, I like to say guilt's a waste of time. Because it's a negative emotion, it might hold us back. You feel like you're in the mud, you just focus on, oh, guilt trip, beating yourself up and all of this, and that does not move you forward, that doesn't change anything. So when he said that thing about it's actually often associated with learning, because you feel it, so if it didn't hurt in that moment, you'd make the same mistake again.
Exactly. And there are, imagine if you were one of those people that didn't feel the guilt because you
Yeah.
don't care. And the reason you feel guilt is because you care so much and because you're learning from it.
So I think that's a good thing. So now we can move on. We
Totally.
can say, okay, I feel guilty about this. So what can I do differently? What can I do,
I
to
think
go
it's a good
forward?
idea, though, to also recognize that when you've got a reactive dog, there are lots of different reasons. It could be genetics, it could
Okay, hang
be
on. Let's do a bit of a brainstorming in the group.
great
Let's do a bit
idea.
of a brainstorming, guys, about the reasons other than you. We've dealt with that, okay? Other than that, what are the reasons why a dog might be a reactive dog, or might have showed reactive behavior? That's a better way to say it. Where does that stuff come from? Let's do some examples or some reasons. Oh, hi, Mars. Mars says my Oki seems to be getting worse and worse. I feel terrible for both of us.
I know. It is
Oh,
so hard, isn't it? It really is.
I'm sorry, Mars. So let them drop us an email. Let us know how you're doing with the plan we gave you.
We
That's
can help.
that's
We
not
can help.
good. Yeah, it's a
So
food.
Kirsten, genetics, and if the mom was stressed, traumatic experience, if the mom was stressed, yeah, so the traumatic experience and the fear period. So traumatic experiences are experiences that have happened anytime right from the womb, isn't it? So if there was a traumatic experience that happened to the mum, like you said, Kirsten, that's going to mean that the puppy will be born um, kind of ready with that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, that whole everything ready to go. Um, so yeah, that's a really good point. Fear periods. Interesting. Fear periods are quite interesting, actually. Um, and the one that we tend to see the most is going to be that one when the dogs go to adolescence and they have another fear period then because the earlier ones tend to be before the puppies sort of left the breeder and that kind of
Mm.
thing. So, but that adolescent one that can hit us hard, can't it? It really does hit us hard. Anybody got anything else that they think of? Oh,
Yeah,
Helen,
Helen, yeah, is elaborating on the traumatic experience by either being
mm,
attacked or by another dog or watching something. Yep.
another dog being attacked.
I
Yeah,
mean,
frustrated when they can't meet everyone. And I think with that one, it's a good idea to think, well, where did that assumption come from with them? What experiences made them think that they should meet everybody? Because you're absolutely right. There is that frustration as well when you get that overexcitement type of reactivity.
mm,
Super points.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. But yeah, those traumatic experiences are horrible. And it doesn't even have to be deliberate. Again, with Hattie, she was cornered by a German Shepherd, and she was pretty okay before that. And then when that happens, that's when everything kind of really started for her in terms of reactivity. But it was a German Shepherd. It was a young German Shepherd who was just playing. There was no evil intent. It was just, it's how it made her feel. Hi, Shawnee. Nice to see you, or not see you, but you know what I mean. Okay.
Okay, and then of course health, right? Physical
Mm,
discomfort, any pain, something like that, that can also be. And that is very often the case. So a lot of clients, when they first, contact me and I say, well, have you been to the vet? Have you had a health check? And it's probably 8 out of 10. They come back and say, oops, yeah, there's something.
yeah.
So when we know this from ourselves, right? When we not feel great, then it can be a bit rough around the edges too. And
And if
also,
the vet doesn't find anything, then sometimes the canine massage specialist will find something, or the physio will find something. There's soft tissue things. I would say
yeah,
probably 80% of the time there's something there
yeah, yeah.
somewhere.
Okay.
Cool.
So, um, if
Now,
you, huh?
sorry, carry on, Barbara. I
No,
interrupted.
you go.
I was just going to say we were going to just sort of talk about and um, a little bit about the conversation that we had in the festival in February um, with Jess Adams. So we've sort of there's a few things that she said that were so pertinent. So if after you've watched this live, you want to go back and maybe watch that video again, that would be a brilliant idea because she is a counselor. She understands about, how we are to ourselves and how we can sometimes be our own worst enemy just because we care so much and we
Mm,
beat ourselves up. And one of the things that really struck me that she talked about was how we speak to ourselves versus how we speak to our dogs. So think about all the things that you say to your dog. You can pop them in the comments. What are the most common things that you say to your dog? And I can bet, well, no, I'm going to let you think, have a little think, and think, what is the thing that I probably say to my dog most often? Just, when you're hanging out, whatever you're doing. Um, because we love. Um, oh, Kirsten's just put another reason for reactivity was the lack of socialization in terms of getting introduced to lots of different experiences and things like that. And that's really, really crucial as well. Yeah, good. So Shawnee says good. Kerry, good girl.
Yes, Kerry. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And I know when I come down to come down in the morning to my dogs and they're the greet, oh, hello, my little darlings, look at you, aren't you amazing? Blah, blah, blah. And we really, really do, don't we? You know, the way we talk to them is just with that love and that positivity. And then think about how do we talk to ourselves? And it's very, very different, isn't it? So say you're
Negative self-talk. Yep.
exactly, we're all guilty. So if your dogs, even if your dog's had a reactive episode, you'd be saying to your dog, "Oh, do you know what? You really tried your best, and are you okay, my little one?" And oh, bless you, that was a bit scary, wasn't it? And still very positive, but in our heads to ourselves, we're going, "Well, I'm a stupid idiot. That was all my fault, blah, blah, blah." So we really need to think about can we talk to ourselves a little bit more like we talk to our dogs?
Yeah,
Um,
praise yourself some more. Shawnee put in the comment here, my husband is the one I need to watch what he says to the pups. He has some choice words. That's hilarious.
I think we
So, but
sometimes all have a few, words. Um, but yeah, absolutely. Um,
so I think something to really keep. Oh, sorry, did I interrupt you there?
no, 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 you carry on. You carry on.
The thing is, sometimes we make mistakes, but that is, that's just human. Nobody's perfect. And also we cannot control everything. The things happen, shit happens, right? You go someplace, there is this other dog, whatever. And we've talked about already that, okay, now we feel guilty about this, fair enough. But the thing is, what do we do with this now? Something happened, our dog had an overreaction, had a negative experience. So the thing is, one thing that guilt can do and that we want to move forward. We don't want to get stuck in the negative self-talk. That's right. That's what you were saying, Julian. It's not,
Yeah,
that doesn't
that's
create
so
any
key.
value whatsoever. And the thing is, in Buddhism, we always say the past is gone, right? And the future, whatever may happen from this, the future is not here yet. All we have is this present moment, right? So what we need to do is focus on the dog that we have in front of us and telling ourselves, today I start and I begin to move forward. This is my plan. These are the steps, right? And then we do that. That's really the only way to deal with it. Everybody makes mistakes. Okay, we want that there's some positive element in the guilt so that it makes us go, oh, got to do something about it. Yep. But then we really have to actually take the action and take the steps. Wouldn't you agree with that, Julia?
I would, and absolutely. I think that's so important because what is it? The past's another country. It's there's nothing we can do about that now. Um, the person Mars to rewatch, I'll write it in the comments. It was Jess
Yeah.
Adam.
And then one good tip, I think that's
Is trying to tag people when I put that in, which is
she's
somewhat
really,
annoying. But she was great, really lovely. And now
so
I
she's
will
really
put it in the
great and it's
comments
really
eventually.
useful.
But
And yeah, go and have a look at her, Jess
yeah,
Adam.
Jess Adam, she's fantastic. And the other thing that we do, I think, is we kind of, it kind of links into what we were saying about what causes reactivity, because it's really easy, isn't it? And I think a lot of people do this and they assume that all dogs are some sort of blank slate. they'll just be able to slot into our lives. It's one of those. There's a lady that both Barbara and I work with, who always talks about the stories that we tell ourselves. And we do. We tell ourselves all these stories about how things should be and how we think things are. So one of the stories we tell ourselves is dogs are a blank slate. They're going to be able to fit into their lives absolutely brilliantly. We also tell ourselves stories about how long things should take, things like training and that kind of thing. And we tell ourselves a little story with this vision of how things are supposed to go. So, and so say, for example, you are somebody who has been working with your dog for 6 months, say, and you still have some, reactivity, and you beat yourself up with how far you've got. You're like, do you know what? We really should be doing better by now. It's ridiculous. And we hear this all the time, all the time. Think about what would you say to a friend if they said the same to you? So if your friend came to you and go, I've been working so hard with this dog, and I just feel that this is where I've got to, and I actually feel I should be over here. What would you say to them? You'd probably say, actually, look at all the progress you've made. You're doing an amazing job. It's fantastic. The trajectory you're on is brilliant. Look at the positive things. Stop looking at the negative things. So again, we seem to think to that us ourselves, we're somehow an exception. So we don't talk to ourselves in the same way that we would talk to someone we love, because we think that we are the exception. There should be different rules for us. We should somehow be, perfect and not able to make these, and not able to take longer than we think. We have to stick to the plan that we had. And I tell you what, I am so guilty of this. I'm just talking about it, thinking, describing myself. It's okay. It's that thing. It's okay for everybody else to be on a journey with ups and downs, but it's not okay for us. So, try and think about it in these terms. Anytime you find yourself, beating yourself up because you haven't made as much progress as you think that you should because of a story that you've told yourself, what would you say to somebody else that said exactly that same thing to you? Absolutely. And then that might help put it into a little bit of context for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also what you always say, Julia, like put your own oxygen mask on first, right?
Damn right.
We really need to make sure that, we meet our needs first so we can then take care of our dogs.
Exactly. And one of the other things, another amazing thing that Jess said, which really resonated with me during the interview, was that the things that we feel and the emotions that are brought up for us with our dogs, so whether it's guilt, frustration, disappointment, whatever, they're usually things that are present in other areas of our life as well, but they're just focused on the dog at that particular time. So actually addressing how we're feeling about things first is, putting that own oxygen mask on and thinking, trying to work through those things first is going to be really, really beneficial. So that's kind of quite the big picture. The smaller picture thing is, let's say you're about to do some training with your dog or go on a walk with your dog, but you're in a really grumpy mood, but you haven't had something to eat and you're really hungry, but you feel a little bit under the weather. Make sure your own needs are met and you're feeling good, and then go for a walk with your reactive dog or train with your dog or whatever. Try and make sure you look after yourself first. Because imagine you're taking a reactive dog on a walk, you're grumpy, you're hungry, you're hangry, you've got a headache, whatever. You're not going to be in the best place to be able to deal with a reactive dog in the way that you want to be able to do that. So look after you first. Oxygen masks, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you put Jess's name in there? I don't see it.
I didn't, because my computer was being a pain. It wouldn't let me put it in. for
Okay,
reasons
I'll do it. No
that
worry.
I can't. What I can do is oh, hang on a
I
minute.
did it. It's okay. I'll do it.
You're cool.
Except I get autocorrect linking all sorts of people.
I did that. That's exactly what happened to me.
Okay, so Jess,
Adam.
Adam. But if I put in Adam also, yeah, there's so many Adams coming. Oh, this is how we do it. We have to put a blank in. Okay, I'll try again. There we go. Got it.
Technology, gotta love it.
Yeah. Okay. And then Karsten mentioned, oh, at first, Elgie says a favorite quote, frustration is directly proportional to expectation. Yeah, bo.
Yeah.
And then
Yes, I like
Kirsten,
that.
Kirsten
Mm.
said, Susan Garrett keeps saying it helps to journal where you sit down in the evening and write down all what you did today with your dog and what went great and what didn't and what you work on tomorrow. It's crucial to always focus on the positive and what went great. I'm just bad in journaling. So, Kirsten,
I'm a
here's the
big believer.
thing. Actually, Susan said,
I think we're going to say the same thing, aren't we, Barbara?
well, what Susan says is when you, any training session that you do, either video it or journal it and put, as soon as you can afterwards, put in your journal what went really well, what you loved, right? And then what are you going to do differently next time tomorrow? Or if something that you didn't like, what are you going to change about the way you do things tomorrow, to get a different outcome. So that is your training journal.
Mm.
The journal, what Susan has been doing for all the years that I've listened to her in the evenings, is she writes down 3 things she's grateful for.
Yeah, I
And
do that every day.
gratitude, yeah, and
Mm.
gratitude is the number one positive energy
Yeah.
creator. It's really, really, really powerful. So that's a good thing. Thanks for that reminder, Kirsten.
Yeah. And with my previous teacher head on, one thing I was a big believer on when giving feedback to students in their workbooks, I'd always write down 3 things that I loved that they'd done. So 3 super positive things, because it's something we've talked about, isn't it, Barbara? That, if you tell people the positive things, they'll try and repeat them.
Yeah,
And it's the same for yourself. Even if you tell yourself these are the positive things, your brain will go, "Oh, that made me feel good. I want more of that."
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then rather than saying, "Oh, this wasn't good," give yourself an actionable step that, like you said, like Susan would
Yeah,
say, an actionable step that you can do differently,
yeah.
or that you can work on, but make it really, um, make it a positive thing that you can do rather than a critique.
So I mean, when we work with our own, when we work with our dogs, the whole point in positive reinforcement based training is to look for things that you can reward and
Mm,
set the dog up
true.
so they can get things right. But it's not about, I mean, sure, we have some outcome in mind, right? We're going through an exercise, we want to get somewhere. But in the end, you really want to create lots of opportunity to reward your dog, and that involves letting go a bit of the outcome, splitting the thing in lots of tiny steps, and getting really, really good at spotting when there's something good, when the dog is something good. I mean, when I've got students that are, dog handlers that are really, really green, when they first start in the class. They might have had dogs forever, but never really done much, and then I come to class. And that's the first skill I need to learn, is to actually see when the dog checks in,
Mm.
right? We all get so hung up on everything that goes wrong, and we need to really focus and isolate those good things and hone in on that. If we
Isn't it
don't,
interesting that having this discussion and we're talking about, we talk such a lot, don't we, about catching your dog doing something good. That's what a lot of training is about, is catching that moment when they've done something that you like. But we need to do that for ourselves too, and that's really
yeah,
important. Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So it's the same skill,
And
right?
what's interesting, Shawnee said, try to be around positive people as well.
Yeah, we want
And that's something that I think Barbara is great at with our work. she will, or if I've done a piece of work or something, she'll always say, "What I really love about this is," and tell me something really great about it, which is brilliant. And that's kind of what you want, because, like I say, you want to just keep on repeating that.
But you've raised the bar now, no? I've got to think of 3 things now each time.
You don't have to think of 3 things
Ah,
each
man,
time.
I was trying to make you laugh. It's not as if it was hard to find 3
Awful,
things.
wasn't it? That was horrific.
It was supposed to be a joke. Oh my goodness. Anyways.
I think the learning point
Anyways.
is hang out with us guys a lot more.
Normally we laugh a lot. I don't know why we're
We
so
do laugh
serious
an awful
today.
lot together. It's
Oh
brilliant.
goodness. Anyway, it's that topic, hey. I think we're not done and dusted with this. I think we have
So
to be.
Shawnee, she's just asking who Jess Adam is. She was one of the interviewees in the festival. So if you use your festival login that you've got, she's sort of down towards the end. She's around about 28, 29, 30, somewhere around there in the interviews. So it's definitely worth catching up with that one again.
Yeah.
Because as I say, it was super cool, and it helped us more than as much as anything else.
Yeah, no, it's a great interview. Okay, shall we have a look at our questions today? I see it's already else.
We have many things to talk about, don't we?
Yeah, got lots of questions today. Okay, so some of it I think might be, we don't have to say so much about, but
It's
let's
nice to
just start
share
at the
those
beginning and see.
experience. Yeah.
So, and not because there is nothing, yeah, because people were sharing experiences, and also because I think a lot of it that was related to the guilt thing we've talked about, not in any way because anybody's comment or question wasn't worth consideration or anything.
No,
Anyway,
they were all
here we go.
brilliant.
So Liz said, I carry guilt as when Riley, who is now 5, was a pup. I tried to socialize him as much as I could, including meeting other dogs. I lost count of the times owners would say their dog was fine, for them then to have a go at him. One day it happened and he fought back. From then on, when a dog was approaching his body, would either stiffen or he would lie down and wait. I now give him space and concentrate only on him, not worrying if I seem rude. He's my priority and is totally fine if the other dog is okay, but if the other dog growls or looks on a certain way, then he retaliated. I wish I had just kept him away from any dog I didn't know, but then would that have made him the same, not knowing how to behave around dogs? That's actually a really interesting question.
It really, really is. And I think, I don't know if you're watching this live on catch up or anything, Liz, but I reckon if we did a poll of everybody in the Facebook group or everyone that we knew, there would be quite a high proportion of people that could say something really similar, because the advice that is you get overwhelmingly when you've got a puppy is you need your puppy to meet lots of other dogs. So these things happen an awful lot. Um, so yeah, you're certainly not going to. You're going to be far, far, far from alone, because you were trying to do the best thing from what you knew. Of course you were. Um, so I've just lost my total train of thoughts now. So it is super, and that's the
Okay.
difficulty, isn't it? When you're getting a dog to meet other dogs, it can go so wrong so easily, which is why we don't talk about getting our dogs to meet other dogs in a uncontrolled way, but just doing in a very, very controlled way when it's appropriate. And for some dogs, that might be, well, it's just not appropriate for them, and that's okay.
So when I go with my dogs, when I walk them and for a leash walk along our lagoon, that's sort of the favorite, other people go there too. And if I spot other owners walk with their dogs, I'll go out of the way. Now my dogs aren't reactive. I mean, I've had my share of reactivity in my life. I've got a youngster who can at times overreact, don't get me wrong. But he's come a huge ways with other dogs. But I'm I'm not going to go head on and let them eat. So I do exactly what you do, Liz. I move out of the way. I create lots of space. Sometimes I might wave at the other people, but I don't give a hoot at what that looks like, right? Because the worst thing is, people come in close and say, can they say hello to each other, or can they play or anything like that? Because we don't know. We don't know what the other dogs are like, and we also don't know whether they actually want to, do they like each other? So there is nothing wrong when people have dogs that they know are fine, they trust, their dog is, has good outcomes. We all love to see our dogs play with other dogs, but it isn't something that is necessary for the well-being of our dogs. Our dogs aren't sitting at home on the couch pining. I want to be with another dog. I want to be with another. They don't. They
Right.
don't. They want to be with you, and they want to do things with you, and they want to feel good about themselves, and they want to feel good, doing activities with you. So the potential negative fallout of socializing with other dogs is bigger than the potential benefit.
Absolutely,
It's
100%.
great when it goes well, but it's
Yeah.
disastrous when it goes wrong. So I don't do it.
Yeah. And
I
at the
don't do
end of the day, the
I
bad
don't
manners,
know.
the bad behaviors are generally learnt behaviors from thinking I can say hello to all the dogs rather than, not seeing the dogs
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, our dogs know how to be dogs. They're pretty cool with that. And it was, I don't know, it sort of happened. I can't remember when it was, sort of 20 years ago onwards, maybe, where this thing that we've got to let our dogs be with other dogs all the time to learn how to be dogs. But it's okay, they know they're cool. So, so yeah, I think that answers the question.
Well,
But
the
don't think you're
question
alone.
is, would he have been the same if he hadn't met all these dogs? Because he wouldn't have known how to behave around dogs, right?
And the answer to that is I think he probably would have had fewer issues.
But we
Um,
don't
we,
know.
we don't know, but that's,
I
who
think
knows.
that is exactly that thing about the past. So with another dog, now knowing what you know now, I think with another dog, rather avoid it. Rather let the other dogs be gray noise. It's the safe, so you treat them like a distraction, and your dog can be with you and listen to you and walk with you. And okay, yeah, there are other dogs, but that behavior doesn't come from playing and interacting with every dog. That comes from, okay, they're there. But so
Yeah.
what? I want to be
And
with
I'm
you.
I'm doing something else. Yeah. But it's
Dog,
one of those you learn and you move on, don't you?
yeah. Dogs mostly live with us. They don't live with other dogs, right? And then I know that there are exceptions to this. I know that there are dogs that live in big groups and whatnot. And that's other rules there. Our average pet dog, there might be another dog in the family. They will get on. It's a completely different scenario. And when we just out on walks, I mean, I don't want to talk to every stranger.
No.
Most of the time, I'm kind of in my own world, enjoying being out there, right? I might just smile, hello, and walk on. So that's what we want from our dogs, right? Okay, you're there. We'll move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next question was from Jenny Lewis. Suggestions on keeping my dog from getting overexcited when the neighbour's small dog runs my fence barking. I try to avoid when he's outside, but I don't always know if he's outside until he's running the fence.
Mm,
Frustrating, isn't it?
yeah, that's fence running is a big thing.
Hello, Falcon.
What have you got to say? Why don't you go into the lounge and talk to your dad? I'm kind of busy.
He's helping. He's
Yeah.
got some suggestions for us.
He says, I want a fence run. I'm good at that. You will be too.
Yeah, I
Okay.
could do that, given half a chance.
So number one, we can do some brainstorming here together, Julia. So
Yeah,
number
good
one
idea. Let's do
is
that.
when our dogs does stuff that we don't want them to do, we've got to preventive rehearsals. The more they do it, the better they get at it. The more
Yeah.
it becomes their go-to. The more there is excitement involved here. There is also stress, but there's also a lot of like, ah. So the more they do it, the more it's like, wow, I want to go outside and I'm just hanging out by the fence, just waiting for that dog to come, right? So we definitely, first of all, we need to prevent the rehearsals. How can we prevent the rehearsals? We can
Yeah,
go.
that's a good idea because if you don't know if the dog's there, your dog goes out, the dog then starts fence running, and then you end up with behavior.
Yeah. So number one, for the next little while, take him out on leash only.
I agree.
The first thing for me. Then take him out on leash only. There are probably things you might want to do outside if that was me, I can't just have my dog only on leash when I'm in my yard. I do some of my training in the yard. I need to have my dog off leash on occasion. I want to practice my recalls, whatever. I don't want to be stuck in a scenario where I only go out on leash. So this is not something long term. Another thing we want to get to a point where that's no longer necessary, right? The next thing is, can they see the other dog through the fence, or are they just hearing the other dog? Is the other dog barking? Right? Because he's clearly triggered by that dog, so we want to block access to that trigger. So we could maybe put some privacy fencing up if that's a possibility, if not seeing the dog might help at this point. Or a second fence, so there is a bit of a, it doesn't have to be as good a fence, but something, between the fence where the other dog is and where you are with your dog. That can make a big difference. Anything that will kind of a change in the environment that stops the behavior. And just as an example, my Emma used to have arguments, extended arguments with the neighbors' dogs. And there's a wall, they couldn't see each other. But there was also a hole, there was some kind of gap, right, in the, what do you call it, the bricky thing at the bottom there. And we put it so they could smell. I mean, they knew the other dog was on the other side of that wall, but it was exacerbated by that, that there was this tiny gap. I couldn't see anything, but it was like a tiny gap. So there probably a lot of scent came through. Whatever. All we did was we had like a sort of ornamental palette, if you know what I mean, like a wooden thing kind of. So we placed that against that spot, against the wall. It's not completely covered. They can still hear each other. They can still, it's not blocking if there is air going through or scent or sound or what, but it changed everything for Emma. It was a tiny change. It's not the only thing I did, but number one is always management. So leash and see if you can do something to change the environment. Going out when the dog's not there is, of course, a cunning plan. That's also great.
Do that as much as you can, because I think when it's really tricky is if your dog is particularly triggered by the noise of the other dog barking, because that's a much more difficult thing to manage your way.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So in that case, if you've got your dog on the lead, you go out. If there's any noise starting, you go straight away back inside again, so that you just cut it to short. Because that is a really tricky one. You can, unless you've got massive speakers, but then you might not be very popular.
Okay, and then
all of your
I
neighbors.
assume, and then I assume the dog needs to go out to potty, so it helps to have that dog trained to go and potty on a leash. That's why,
100%.
it makes your life so much easier, and it also helps if there is a bit of a cue that supports it, a bit like us, right? The moment anybody talks about that sort of thing, I have to go to a particular place in the house. When you're just thinking about it, you have to stop the car. You know what I'm talking about, right? We need to pee. So in a way that same association also works for dogs. So we can put that on a cue, but that's another story for another time.
Absolutely.
So being able to potty the dog on a leash is super helpful, and making that as easy as possible. A spot that's far away from, your potty area, far away from where the fence run. I mean, as far as you can within the confines of your yard. And then the last one is to have some easy, nice training games that you and your dog love to work on. So it could be anything. Could be sit down, stand, could be spins, could be hand targets, could be any kind of trick, could be paws up. I mean,
Just
any of,
something your dog loves to do. You
yeah,
know,
something
those
that you,
things that
yeah,
your dog like, I've got this, I
yeah,
know this one.
yeah. So you want to have that really nicely under your belt so that you can ask your dog to do this even with distractions. And then, because here's the thing, rather than just pushing cookies in their face, in the face of a major trigger, getting them to work with you will get you there much, much faster to that place where it's just becoming background. So then the first stage is getting to a point where the dog can work with you on leash, doing things. Next, and that will be the first sort of goal post, right? That they can actually do that and ignore that there is barking. And if you can't, then you just go inside and you work inside, and you can go inside, outside, inside, outside. But that would be sort of the immediate strategy.
Yeah, it can be difficult doing that transition from inside to outside, but again, that's another thing that's probably would take too long to really go into much detail
Yeah,
on in
get the
this sort of
bunch.
environment. Yeah. But Shawnee said, because she's got more than one dog, but it's a really great point. She started letting one dog out at a time because they feed off each other so that she can manage the environment in a more positive way. I think that's absolutely
Good
great.
point. Yeah.
Really good. Because they do, don't they? They're absolute monkeys for winding each other up.
Especially monkeys.
Right.
Monkeys. Help.
Our next question is from Anne Ward-Smith. Our collie has been attacked so many times in the last 4 years when she's on lead that she went from being reactive only to certain dogs and cars to reacting to loads of dogs. When she's inside or on the veranda, she often reacts. She's super scared by certain noises, like loud cars. You can at times see her physically change when we're out as she gets anxious. We avoid contact with 99% of other dogs, which can be difficult. I've had to tell people so many times to recall their dog because they think it's okay for them to run up to Frankie. It's not. I hear you. We use treats when we walk her, try and keep her lead relaxed, talk to her, make her walks fun. We also do things at home like shoulder rub, sniffing, and seeking games. But I'm just wondering if there's anything else that can help her feel less reactive, both at home and out. I think we can, lots of us will be able to totally understand what you're saying there and really empathize with you because it's really tough. It's really tough. But you know what? Some of the advice that Barbara just gave there kind of can segue into this kind of issue as well,
Yeah.
can't it? Yeah.
I think with a dog like that, number one thing is to make them feel safe.
Mm.
So if you see that your dog's reacting with anxiousness, you see physical changes, how often do you see that in your dog, right? Her expressing discomfort in the situation in some way or other. Once a week, once a month, every walk, because it gives you an idea of, how safe does your dog actually feel in their life, right? If we have to feel uncomfortable and a little bit scared once a week, every day, definitely, wow, right?
Yeah.
I'm not
Don't want to
enjoying
do that
that,
anymore.
right? And I mean, look, please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say you're a bad dog mom or anything like that. It's just that often it took me forever to realize what was going on from the perspective of my dog. That's what I'm trying to say here. So what we want to do, the first step, if we want to change this, is to make our dogs feel really safe. And I mean, you're doing great. You're doing lovely things, bringing treats on the walk and, making sure that her lead is relaxed so you're not adding to the tension. This is all wonderful.
The other thing that I really like about this one is that she's noticed those physical changes. You've seen
Yeah.
them, so you're really observing your dog and trying really hard to
Yeah,
understand what they're trying to tell you.
yeah,
So you're a step ahead of most other dog owners
yeah.
out there,
So that's the first thing.
which is
Great.
brilliant.
You're awesome. So now the next thing is, what can we do to make our dog feel safer than they do? And here I think I would review, how often do you go for walks? Where do you go for walks? And do you have to go for walks? That could be another life contentious question. Do we
It
have to
is,
go?
isn't it? I think, yeah, we should do that, shouldn't we?
And then just that lumen
It's
heat
your
thing.
back, your back.
No, I'm just sitting weirdly to keep that heat pad in.
What we talk about with walks,
Yeah.
try to deconstruct them. So think about, what is the walk for? So if you think, actually my dog's going to be better off not having a walk, why am I taking them for a walk? I want to exercise their bodies, so physically. I want to give them stuff to do with their brains. We want to have a nice time. Can we fulfill those needs in different ways? So think about how you could do those differently rather than just going for a walk. Or could you do your walk and make it look different so it's far, far away from, other dogs
Those
and that
things
kind of
that
thing?
scare her. Yeah.
The scary stuff, yeah. So it feels a bit
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. So we can do a lot of the things that we do on a walk, we can do at home. We can also keep our dogs shorter. I know not everybody can, but sometimes it's also possible to get in the car, drive someplace, and then walk there.
Yeah.
So less is more, in the sense of maybe we only go once a week for a walk, but we pick a nice place and drive there. Maybe we don't. I mean, I know, look, I'm just saying this on making assumptions here. Not everybody can, has a car. It depends where we live. Some of us live in cities and the dog has to go around the block, to go to the toilet and things like that. So within the parameters of your scenario, really, really examine what is really necessary and what can you maybe do in different ways. That would be the first thing.
Absolutely, definitely.
Okay, and then our last question. Oh, this is a barking one from Aloha. Is that really the name? Aloha Paradise? If it is, it's an amazing name. What is the best? It might just be a Facebook.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. This is not the point. What is the best way to acknowledge the bark? What is the best way to acknowledge the bark, to not discourage alert barking, and then to have him stop barking? I can't get him to stop generalized barking.
Okay.
Thanks.
And it's another interesting question. I don't know if I've interpreted it correctly, but you want your dog to alert bark, but you don't want them to just bark all the time, and just to maybe do short alert barks rather than blah, 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 blah. Is that how you read it, Barbara?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
that that's how I read it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, we need to think of this from the perspective of the dog. So when they are alert barking or barking at a thing, that bark is coming from a place of how they're feeling in their emotions. So whether it's kind of a little bit of anxiety or whatever, that's why they're barking. And at that point, when they are barking, their brain isn't in a position to really be able to do much in the way of learning. Okay. So having a dog that you say, okay, you can alert bark at this distraction, but not that distraction, or you can invoke alert bark at this distraction at this time of day. From a dog's perspective, we're putting a lot of criteria on there and making it super difficult when the dog is just noticing a thing and how it feels. Does that make sense? If you, however, you're also talking about attention barking, for example, or barking for other reasons other than alerting, then again, it's thinking about, okay, so it's something that you always say, Barbara, it's that dogs always do what works. So when they are barking for us, there's always a reason for it. So we need to uncover what that reason is. So for instance, if your dog has learnt that if you're sitting down watching TV and they bark at you, that you're going to give them attention, whether it's positive or negative attention, then you've created a little bit of a behavior chain, which is great for the dog because they think, okay, well, that worked, that got their attention. Now they're talking to me. Having said that, just ignoring the dog then creates frustration and all sorts of stuff. So this kind of barking behavior is actually quite a complicated one. I would tend to think, oh, my dog's needs met at that point. Is there something that they do need? And then I would be thinking about, what can I do to help the dog to calm themselves down? So I might look at, do they need to, would they be best going into having a snooze? Is that something that they need right now? What about a chew or something like that? So I might look at those kind of things, changing the picture, changing that experience so that the lived experience becomes more generally something different. So a classic example of that be every time I sit down and watch the telly, my dog starts barking in my face. Okay, if we carry on, that carries on happening again, that becomes a learned behavior, it becomes a rehearsed behavior, it gets stronger and stronger. So let's say, okay, every time I sit down, my dog is going to have a lovely chew. And then you've got them getting into a different habit of mind. So the brain neural pathways are built slightly differently. So that's what I would be doing there. What are your thoughts? I'm not sure if I've answered the question, understood the question correctly with my answers. But what do you think?
I totally agree with everything that you said. And I think what is important is to understand that there are different reasons why dogs bark.
Mm.
And even just alert barking, they might be alerting you to a cat, but you don't give a hoot about the cat, right? But you
Yeah.
want them to alert when, there's people outside or something. So the thing is, first of all, and then, sometimes dogs also just bark out of excitement, right?
That's
And
true.
again,
Yeah.
so we need to understand why is it that the dog barks. You need to understand what the triggers are that, create that situation. And what's in the example that Julia gave about the couch, could there be something of that somewhere? A lot of the times we inadvertently reinforce our dogs for barking.
We do, don't we?
But when our dogs are stressed and we then toss them cookies, that is not reinforcing the dog for barking.
That's true.
And let's not confuse those. Those are two completely different scenarios. And in order to understand what is going on with this generalized barking that you mentioned, clearly the unwanted barking, I think journaling is just the answer. Always write down for the next week, starting tonight or tomorrow. Write down every time your dog barks. Why are they barking? What triggered it? What happened just before? Right? And maybe even the thing before that. And what happens straight after? How do you normally do?
It's quite interesting actually because I was with one of my in-person clients today, brand new client, lovely, lovely, lovely German Shepherd rescue dog, absolutely beautiful, very reactive, but she was lovely. Anyway, she does lots and lots of alert barking, but her owner lives, she owns a pub, and it's in a quite, quite a scary area of town. So she, again, it's similar to this. She wants a bit of alert barking going on there, but because it makes her feel more secure. And I can totally get that. But she doesn't want her dog to be reactive to other dogs and people and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that we're working on is going, okay, let's work on those lower triggers, stop barking for the lower triggers. So that, if you get the alert barking, it's something that actually matters. So we're just trying to do a little bit of kind of work on that. But I had exactly the same conversation with her today. And looking at, what's the reason that your dog's barking? Is it genuinely alert? Because like you say, you don't want them to bark just because someone's kind of closing the car door or minding their own business. It's more, it's got to be a bigger
Yeah, yeah,
situation.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I totally get that. Ah,
I hope that helps. I think that was the last one.
yeah, Lois just put in the comments
Ah,
how to stop them barking when they are barking. Once they are barking, they are barking. You can redirect by asking them to do something else, but that once they're in that state of mind, quite often they won't be able to listen to you. Okay. And then you're going down a track of aversive methods, which we can't.
okay.
We
Yeah.
need we
So,
need to think about, yeah,
yeah. Okay. So if there's this, let's just assume we have people at the door, for example, or
yeah,
people near the house or something, and you want your dogs to say woof woof woof, somebody's coming, but then be able to stop, right? So
mm,
that means that you've got to teach them a behavior that you want them to do at those times. And you teach that when nobody's there in the beginning, right? So that say that we want them to hop on their beds and they get cookies on their bed. So they're like, oh, woof, woof, somebody's coming. And then they
yeah,
run to their beds and they wait for their reward. That's where we want to get. And then something that you might have to do is change what triggers them in order to get to that. So if it's say the doorbell, then you might want to work with a different noise that becomes the cue for them to hop on. And then we transfer what happens, or you just send them with your word, whatever, and then we're transferring that to, so you have the whole behavior already taught, right? We're going, and then the dogs do this when they're in a good state of mind. Like Julia said, when they are all like up in arms, intruder alert, we can't train then. Then all we can do is toss cookies at them or give them a bone or something. But the whole thing of, first you need to know what you want them to do instead. Then you got to go and train that. And then you attach that whole training, whole behavior chain that you want to the trigger of somebody coming. That's how it's
yeah,
not, there is no easy fix.
yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be here. You guys all know this, right? It's always involved, but it can go really quick.
Mm.
Doesn't have to take forever.
As long as you don't try to do it too quickly, if you see what I mean. You've got to say if you want them to go to the bed, it's the behavior to stop the barking.
Yeah, you
You've
have to
got
work
to
on that
get
first.
that absolutely
Yeah,
nailed before
yeah,
you start introducing the distraction to then
yeah.
keep that.
And you work with other distractions first.
Mm.
And they do it, without. And then right at the end, you can add that thing to the harder one. What I did with my dogs, twice a week, I've got somebody coming in who helps in the house. And the dogs love her. And it was mayhem. And so now it's worse than Falky because he's just like, I don't know. He's just like he gets so excited when he sees people. So I just that is when they get their bones.
Yeah,
Those are the times when I bring out the new bones. And they are excited. Yay! And then okay, bones. And then they get their bones and then they go to their beds and they chew their bones. So they still tell me, oh, she's coming. But then very quickly that will hop. I mean, now I know somebody comes to the door, he's like, "Wah!" And then he runs to his bed,
yeah.
right? In expectation of his bone. That's what he gets. So took. So yeah, I hope that's helpful and all.
Cool. Super duper. So thank you very much, everybody. Now, we might have said in the group, mentioned that it is a very special month for Barking Up the Right Tree in August because it is 1 year since we set up Barking Up the Right Tree in the first place. So it's our anniversary month. So we're going to have a little bit of a celebration. We do have a few things up our sleeve, lots of kind of fun freebies, that kind of thing. We've got some videos coming out. We're going to have a challenge that you can get involved in. We're going to do a masterclass. that you can watch and learn from, which should be super good. We might even do some live training as well. That might be a thing that will happen as
Yeah, we've
well,
got
which
lots of things. We are
just
frantically
loads.
working on getting
Yeah.
it all ready for you guys, but we thought we'd let you know.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
those will start coming out fairly shortly, actually, won't they? We'll start getting some of
yes,
those little freebies in. So they're going to be too much fun.
yes.
um,
Great.
and the other thing was if you need more help, because obviously we can't go into huge amounts of detail on these lives, and it's very difficult to get that kind of conversation going. We've opened up our diaries for diagnostic calls that we can have personalized conversations with you, which I think they've been so useful and so much fun. So do book one of those on if you would like to do one. We do have a link here, don't we, Barbara, that I'm just having a little look for.
Just okay, well, yeah, okay.
Oh, I can't blooming find it now. I've lost it now. Oh, here it is,
Yeah.
here it is, here it
Have
is,
you
here
got
it is,
it?
here it is. Yeah, I found it. It was just wasn't where I was expecting it to be. Let's see if
And
I can actually do this properly. So you just click on there. There's some times up to the end of August now, so that you can
yes,
book one of
yeah,
those if you like.
yeah, and then we can spend a good hour, listening to what exactly it is that you're struggling with, and ask lots more probing questions, and and get you a treatment plan
Yeah,
specifically for what you are struggling with. And yeah,
super.
okay.
We will see you guys same time next week.